Something that is a big deal is that Florida State seems like they're gearing up for another fight. And we talked about this when all of the ACC stuff was going down and the NCAA brought the hammer down on Florida State. We talked about the penalties, what that would mean, where that would go, and what would the expectations be at that point. And I truly do believe, nobody confirmed it to me, nobody told me this, I truly do believe that if Florida State had not been fighting the battle that they were fighting against the ACC, they probably would have fought a little bit harder when the NCAA sanctions came down on them in January. Now, that was like a 1.5-year fight of negotiating, of investigating, of the NCAA interviewing different parties, different members of different organizations, and trying to find out exactly what went on. They move at a snail's pace, as you found out with like just anything that gets submitted to the NCAA, like waivers and stuff in the past. But that was a long, drawn-out process. And unluckily for Florida State, they were given penalties, which they accepted. And shortly after they accepted penalties, the NCAA was basically barred from imposing any recruiting or NIL violation penalties on any university in the country. They went after Tennessee, and then the states of Tennessee and Virginia sued the NCAA, basically saying, no, they cannot do this to us. Tennessee was waiting on this to come out and to happen. And their legislature, along with the legislature of Virginia, sued the NCAA. They got an immediate injunction. And I don't think that any NIL penalties violations will ever be able to be prosecuted again. I think that the NCAA will just keep losing here. Maybe this will be the downfall of the NCAA. But just before that happened, again, Florida State agreed to penalties. And at this point, Florida State's saying, whoa. Let's back up here. And let's look at how all this went down. We agreed to something very minor, a coach giving a kid a ride in a car.
Ridiculous.
And the NCAA then paused investigations on Florida. They were at the same time investigating Miami for how the Jaden Rashada recruitment went down. They have a ton of information on all of how that went down between text messages and screenshots and emails and different things. I know people that are connected with it and have chatted with the NCAA about some of this stuff and been in meetings about it at UF and other places. This was a very serious thing. And obviously Matt Baker of the Tampa Bay Times broke that information and that investigation when it happened. But Florida State's saying like, hey, you pause that. You can't penalize anybody else. You'll never be able to penalize anybody else for NIL unless the courts like reverse decisions and then basically saying like, no, you're allowed to penalize for NIL stuff again. And Florida State's saying, yeah, we need to get umbrellaed up under that. Like you can't penalize us and then have your penalty rights taken away and our penalties hold up. So I don't know exactly how Florida State's going to do this, but I do think they're ready to kind of challenge us a little bit. I think they'd want some of the scholarship stuff back. I think they'd want some of the in-person evaluations that got taken away back. I think they'd want to get rid of Alex Atkins' show cause. I think that they'd want really all of this stuff lifted because again, I just don't know that it's fair for the NCAA to be able to continue to impose those penalties. Richie, you have any thoughts on this?
The show cause actually helps Florida State with Alex Atkins. But, I do agree that it should be taken away. And the fact that it was just the person who gave him a ride. We're talking about Amarius Mims. Everybody knows his story now. It's not, any secret information. Guy we should have got, but we won't go back and revisit that. But yeah, I do think going after the NCAA, every chance you get is what you should do. The fact that, I'm going back to when I was in school now, that Bobby Bowden does not have all of his wins over an online music course that involved regular students as well, in addition to athletes. Like the NCAA overstepped their boundaries for years, and they were power hungry and chose to take that on. And now they're losing their power. Like, I don't know if the NCAA will be intact, 5 years from now, TJ, maybe less. I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's smart to go after them because I feel like anytime you take the NCAA to the courts, the courts are going to side with you over the NCAA. And that's probably where we are right now. And in Florida State's situation, they did accept the penalties, the negotiated ones, but now to see all these other universities not having to deal with the same thing, you see why they're pushing back. It's one thing if, okay, everyone's getting the same roughly general penalty. It's completely different when you accept one and now nobody gets that same penalty. Yeah, of course, you're going to fight back. And Florida State, I mean, apparently we're all in on this legal battles with anybody. So we're taking everyone to court and we're going to plant the spear and go from there.
Yeah, if you have 3 kids, right, and I do, and you punish one, and you say like, oh, you missed curfew, which my kids don't go out, obviously being as young as they are. But if you punish one kid for missing curfew, right, and you put a month-long ban on them, and you say you can't go out, right, because you missed curfew this one time, that's fine. The kid agrees to it, says, okay, I won't go out for the next month. And then 2 weeks later, you say, while the penalty is happening, you say, hey, we no longer have curfew in this house.
Yeah.
That is crazy, right? Like your other 2 kids are going to be like, great, sounds great. Florida and Miami are like, great, no more curfew. We are not going to get in trouble for the way that we cheated with Jaden Rashada. But your first kid that got punished for missing curfew is like, how did you just eliminate curfew after I'm serving a penalty for the curfew? Like, how can you possibly do that? I would think the kid would say, okay, Florida State has already served plenty of penalties on this. There have been some evaluation days they missed. There have been some,
they missed the first week in the spring portal.
Portal. They've missed some stuff already. They've already served some penalties. So if you're that kid who served, curfew, you served your punishment for that 2 weeks while there was still a curfew. But to have to serve your punishment afterward, no longer is a curfew, it would be crazy. And I think that's where Florida State's at right now. They're saying like, no, this is dumb for us to have to serve this. Here's what I wonder, Richie. What if you just did it, right? You're supposed to be at 82 scholarships, 83, or is it 80? I don't know. I don't know if it's 5 over 2 years or 5 each year, whatever. Just say it's 5 each year. I don't know if that's the case. I just can't remember, but say it's 5 each year because 5s are easier than 2s or 3s, right? So say you're supposed to be at 80 scholarships this year. What if you just do 80? Or sorry, you're supposed to be at 80, right? What if you just do 85?
Do it.
What can they do?
No, they can't. Here's the thing.
They can't enforce penalties.
Exactly. And the college football playoff is not run by the NCAA. It's not like the college basketball that March Madness, the NCAA runs that, right? The college football playoff could essentially say, nah, Florida State, they're, 11-2, won the ACC. I know they're over your scholarship limit, NCAA, but they're going to bring in TV ratings. Yeah, we're going to put them in the playoff. I would do it. I don't see why not. And I think there's already some of that going on where some players who are not technically on scholarship are getting paid fully for their tuition, room and board and meals and all that stuff with the Battle's End and whatnot. Probably not supposed to say that, but everyone knows what's going on. Let's not, try and deny it. But yeah, I would say just do it. What's it matter? Because the more that schools and universities, especially with the clout that Florida State has, the more we push back at the NCAA, the less relevant they become. And they're already pretty damn not relevant, TJ.
GotSpears.com. They've got some really good deals running right now. We've told you about the Father's Day deal. If you haven't taken advantage of that yet, make sure you do. Code Father's Day 24 in the checkout will take $50 off of a bunch of different products, including their 6-foot spear with or without the torch, the large gator head with the tomahawk, which is one of my favorites, the 6-foot white tip spear or the 6-foot spear without the torch. If you need that in 14 business day rush shipping to get it in time for Father's Day. And then also the medium gator head with the tomahawk. They have a 4 to 6 week rush option available there. Right now, you can also get 2 spears for $200. It's a savings of $100. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to John again at gotspears.com. Yeah, I think I wonder how far they go. I wonder, honestly, what they should do, in my opinion, is not spend any more money on legal battles. And they should literally just let Ashley Moody and the state of Florida. This is it. This is the whole thing right here. I'm giving them the playbook. I literally just saw, well, I won't say who, but I saw some people just in Tampa just now. I wish I'd have thought of this, but I didn't have this all day IPA yet while I was talking with some people. But they literally just tell Ashley Moody to sue the NCAA, just like Tennessee and Virginia did, to put an immediate injunction on all penalties that are from NIL-related violations. If you can't impose new penalties, how can you continue to impose old penalties on NIL violations? Yeah. So the state of Florida and Ashley Moody sue the NCAA, and a judge, the NCAA, it's like Jerry West in the finals, right? Like they never, great player, never wins. That's what it would be. The NCAA never wins in court. And so if you're the state of Florida, you just do this. You just sue the NCAA for all existing penalties to be wiped out. And that's it. Florida State doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to spend any more money. Florida State doesn't have to get into really two legal battles at once, suing over this or that. The state of Florida sues, and that's it. That's the end of it. It's done. Move on. We're over it. I think that's what needs to happen. I don't know if it happens or not, but it's what should happen.
And I think the courts, in today's climate, they're going to side with the smaller entity, so to speak. So they're going to side with the university over the NCAA. Like that's just going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And I think it's an easy win. But to your point, there's no reason for Florida State to get involved in another legal battle. We have plenty of money lined up between the stadium renovations, the IPF, Mike Norvell making $10 million a year now. But to your point, let Ashley Moody take that on. And I don't care what your political affiliation is. She's been on our side, and let's support her for now for whatever she's doing, because that's where we're at. In Tennessee and Virginia have done a phenomenal job as far as, setting the precedent, saying, no, we're not going to do that. Because for too long, the NCAA has been able to say, we're doing this. You did this. You're going to penalize for this. No, the Tennessee, Virginia said, nah, we're not really cool with that. So we're going to sue you guys, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's asinine to think that Florida State shouldn't fight back. Again, I'd rather the state of Florida be the ones to actually do this. But I mean, this helps both public universities. I mean, this helps really. I mean, it helps
every university in Florida. Even Miami, it helps.
Yeah. So I think it'd be huge, for Florida State to get some of that off, right? There's also, it's very minor, but I think there's like a 1% of your revenue, right? Florida State's revenue. Didn't we just see numbers of what is it yearly? What's the revenue year? 175 million. I know you just sent over that. I mean, that's $17 million, right? That you would have to pay as a penalty to the NCAA. How about not? How about we don't do that?
No.
I mean, to me, that's worth it enough right there. So yeah, let's screw them, man. So yeah, good on Florida State though for fighting back, and good on Florida State for getting out in front of that. Maybe we'll get. I don't know if he'd really be able to comment about it if it's active, but we'll try and get Alfred on soon and talk about that. But shout out to Florida State for saying screw you NCAA.